BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Good stuff indeed. Right, sorry about that. We've got ourselves sorted, and we are now ready to get going here in ALR for Silver Season 7, Round 11 in Australia. And welcome along then to the stream, and welcome along to Vesia, who says hello. Hopefully I can have a good race tonight. Then in the Alfa Romeo is Vesia. Ginger Age has put... I think fingers crossed or something there. Bonjour from Gorda, then nearly run my Australia setup, says Blair's video channel. Then he is, of course, not in the same part of the world then as Australia. Then we have, of course, very close names, I suppose you could say, but not quite the same. Not quite the same in terms of racetrack. And there's an alien on the screen. Then says Gordo, yes, that is all sorted now. Hopefully, I'm not quite sure. I did have an update for Streamlabs, but it is now sorted. Fingers crossed. Anyway, fingers crossed it doesn't come back during the race. Then, if it does, then just let me know in the comment section, and I will sort it out. Then, but here comes Craig R. Then into Sector 3. And we will, of course, get ourselves very nice and settled in into this qualifying. We've got 15 minutes left here of the session, as Craig R is going to set the first time on the board here in the Ferrari. Had a very good qualifying record then in silver this season so far, but unfortunately not converting that into the race. And hopefully today can be his turnaround as we cross the line to set ourselves on the way with an 18.4 then from Craig R. Good stuff indeed. I think we've got Dylan then crossing the line. He's on the medium compound tyres, and it's a bit slower, I would imagine, then on these medium compared to the soft compounds as we cross the line for Dylan as well. Then 17.7 then from Dylan. That was much faster indeed then, even on the medium compound tyres. Then the championship protagonist, then currently P2 in the standings, is looking good then. But Fanjo with a 17.7 as well. Then 17.7 on the soft compound tyres this time then for Fanjo, of course, a race winner then in his first full-time appearance last week in Abu Dhabi. He's looking good here. Good day from Vintage then. I think he's impersonating his fantastic Australian accent then, as Mags has gone fastest with a 17.4. Ultimate Beast into the 17th with a 17.9 as well then in the Red Bull. Good stuff indeed so far. Dopey Lemons at 18.2 in the other Williams as well. Good stuff as the times are starting to flood in now. Pot stuff happening to P2 with a 17.6, then 2 tenths away from the current pole sitter of Mags. Here comes R2 Beat then up to the line. It's an 18.3 then for the Aston Martin driver. There's a Mercedes in the background. It's Gordo. He's just starting a lap then, so we'll have come back to him then as plotters they come out to the line. Let's see what the AlphaTauri driver can do. It's P9, a 23.5. I don't think that is his best time on the board then. He might be going again then on this next run. Gordo's back out, on the way, I should say. Here comes Justify then, who is reserving tonight in the AlphaTauri. We've got 2 reserves in the AlphaTauri actually tonight. We've got Plotters then and Justify. Justify's first race in ALR then. Let's see what he can do as we cross into Sector 3 now. The AlphaTauri driver then coming through. We'll see what pace he's got then in that AlphaTauri as we cross through into the his first flying lap then of the session as well then. Good evening then from Vintage as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Put another shrimp on the barbie, as we would say here in Australia, as we come across the line then for Justify. It's an 18.3 then for Justify. Puts himself P8 then just ahead of R2 Beat then, who has dropped down to P9. Then Craig R is back out on circuit as well then. We'll come back to him because I think we saw it was Plotters, wasn't it? He was going round again, wasn't he? Yes, he is. He's coming round again into Sector 3. I think he's going to be the next driver to cross the line in anger. Let's have a look and see as we come round into the penultimate corner now as well. Then flying through then in the AlphaTauri. Let's see what he can do then. Car number 5 as we cross into the final corner now. It's a very treacherous final corner as well. If you can see quite a few drivers there have spun in their qualifying and the race attempts as well. Then here he comes up to the line. Then he's improved then by 5.5 seconds then to P7 then 18.1 then for the AlphaTauri reserve then, as we've got, I think it's Gordo next across the line. I think here comes Gordo then. Gordo having a bit of a traction, lost that back end, trying to step out then through the final corner. I think he's going again, is Gordo. He has abandoned his previous time in 39.1. Is definitely not his best time on the board, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do. Can he improve? I'm sure he can, as we'll come back to that then, because we've got Dopey Lemons then improving by a tenth of a second. And in Sector 1 then, he's flying now, is the Williams car. Hopefully looking to turn his season around as well. He's just said himself in the Discord that he's not had his best season so far. Hopefully this is the turning point then as well for him as we come through into the nice flowing Sector 2 now as well. It's a very much a fast-paced circuit now compared to the with the old format. We've got an issue then for Max. He just missed it through the chicane. Then he's out of the session already. Then he's unfortunately, fortunately for him, he's out of time. of a 17.4, which is currently good enough for pole position, which is quite good indeed for Mags then. But unfortunately for the Ferrari, he is out of the session there. Big smash through the chicane. That is a very treacherous place indeed. We've seen quite a lot of drivers then have a few issues over the years through Australia around that chicane, and unfortunately Mags has been claimed by the chicane as well then. Up to the line for Dopey Lemons, he's improved by 2.5 tenths up to P8 then. Good stuff indeed. Here comes Gordo then, he's flying through, but Mr. Elite, I think, no, it's not Mr. Elite, it's Jinner then. Jinner crosses the line, P12, I should say, then 18.4 for the Aston Martin, then both the Aston Martins lying astern as it stands. Here comes here comes Gordo, then Gordo improves to an 18.4 as well, then into P13, or stays P13 for the time being. Here comes his teammate then, 18.4 as well, then all the 18.4s are tumbling in, then Mr. Elite and Gordo then side by side as it stands. All blimey, flying through turn 1 and 2. That is very dangerous indeed. That looks that Mercedes looks very unsettled. Both the Mercedes looking like they're struggling with the back end then at this stage. There we go then. Yodel says, Smithy Almighty, let's go Silver. Good stuff indeed. An evening from Rocket Lizo as well. Good luck to the Silver drivers. Good stuff indeed so far. Here comes Irvine then on his customary, usually customary 1 lap appearance, but we'll see what he can do in qualify. Let's have a look and see. 10 minutes left of the session, then up to the line. Of course, he's going to be cruising on and away then, as he does set a time of a 27.9, but I don't think that's his best time. I don't imagine that's his best time. The Kamara racer then, like I said last week, a strong qualifier then, P2 with a 17.615, currently on the front row of the grid. Then let's see if he can convert here as well then. Dylan then in the 17.7, he's back underway then. Is Dylan going through sector 2 now, and he's got himself into P5 as it stands on his first attempt on the medium compound tyres, that was as well, remember that. So Dylan then looking to improve on those softs now this time, and let's see if he can get himself further up the order then. It's a massive improvement in sector 2. Let's see if he can hold it together then through sector 3. Vessia then up into P7, then we'll come back to Dylan, as I think he's going to be the next drivers across the line in anger as we come through the final parts of sector 3 now as well into the penultimate quarter. Then the car number 96 then in the McLaren. There's some fantastic news then coming from Dylan then in the short while as well then, so stay tuned for that then. But he's going to be coming up to the line. Let's see if the fantastic news is going to be a pole position here. It's going to be a pole position with a fantastic 17.1 as it stands. That's pole position at the moment then, of course a provisional pole position that is, but a 17.1 nonetheless is pretty good stuff indeed then. I think he's much faster than I was in Australia last night, so good stuff from Dylan then, currently on pole position then. But can anybody try and hold a candle to that time, as Justify is back out on circuit as well then, trying to get himself an improvement then on his 18.3. Gordo coming back to the pit lane. I think he's going to be he's cruising around is Gordo then. I think he's run out of fuel there, so he's just trying to get himself through the in lap I should say. Then Irvine has improved to a 19.1 then, but stays P16. Nigel's on circuit now, coming through turn 1 and 2, flying down towards turn 3. We'll stay on board then with the Haas driver as we go through this circuit here as well then. And let's see what he can do then through turn 4, making sure he goes slightly wide then over the curb then, but making sure he doesn't unsettle the car at the same time. Through turn 5 is exactly the same, and through turn 6, a very fast-paced corner, a blind corner as well then, as we saw with George Russell then in the actual Grand Prix. Is this nice little toe I think coming here from the Haas pair, as there is Farf then in front of us as well then, giving his teammate of Nigel a nice toe then down towards the chicane. Then he moves out of the way then just in time, because otherwise that would be a bit of a problem for Nigel then, with Haas in the way then in that case. Through the chicane very nicely indeed then for Nigel. Let's see what he can do then as he comes through sector 3 now, as he's going to be his first time on the board then. I think Farf then might be getting this nice little slip through from his teammate on the reverse lap then, on his next lap, as we come through sector 3 now. Yellow flag then in the chicane there, but it's just the Williams car getting out of the way I think, thankfully, which is nice. So good stuff indeed into the final corner. Here comes Nigel. Can he get himself in the realms then of the top 3? Can he get himself in the realms of the top 5? No, he can't. Yes, he can, I should say. That is a 17.5 for Nigel then. Great stuff indeed. A great lap from the Haas driver. And I think he's going to return the favour now for his teammate of Farf. Then we just had Plotters jump up the order. It's 17.7 now for the AlphaTauri driver. Good stuff from him. Lots of drivers now out on circuit. Vessia back in the pit lane. He has called it a day. There's a Red Bull on circuit, but it's not Ultimate Beast. Well, he is on circuit, but he's not Ultimate Beast. Then improving. He is going to be coming back to the pit lane. I think so is Irvine there. He's going to be starting off another lap here as well. Dopey Lemons is next across the line, but he's on an out lap also. I think there's a Ferrari then with Craig R. Let's see what Craig R can do. Can he improve then on an 8 of a 17.9? Then he's up into P8 as it stands. Let's see if he can get himself further up the order then. Is it going to be close enough? It's he's pulled off to the side of the circuit then. It's unfortunately not an improvement then for Craig R. He has abandoned his time. So that is that then for Craig R. Mr. Elite then starting off a lap as well. Then we've got an Alfa Romeo of Camaro just starting off a lap as well. All sorts of action in the background then. It's Justify coming back to the pit lane, and there is somebody right behind him as well, then I can't quite tell who that is. So there we go then. Alpine, I think it's an Alpine. No, Reflection still in the pit lane. There's another Alpine then of Pot Stuff back in the pits also as the Haas pair are coming through. Let's see what Favre's going to be doing here. He's got a nice little tow from his teammate through sector 2 up to the line. It's a P4 then for Favre. Both the Haas then on the second row of the grid as it stands. That's looking pretty strong indeed then for Haas. Of course, in their first race, they were looking pretty strong as well then. If you remember all the way back then, I think it was to 20... Oh, God. I can't remember what year it was, but it was when Magnussen and Hulkenberg were not Magnussen and Hulkenberg. I can't remember who it was even as well. I know Magnussen's there, Grosjean, that's the one. But yeah, they both were looking very good in P5 and P6 at one point. Unfortunately, there was some pit stop issues for the cars then, as Camaro Racers had an issue as well. Then he's lost the right end plate then of that Alfa Romeo. Then coming back to the pit lane, Craig R is on the way. No, he's not. He's just coming back round then, I think, is Craig R. Then Dopey Lemons coming back to the pit lane. There is 5 minutes left of the session here as Mr. Elite coming around the final corner, unfortunately, has invalidated his next lap then, but he's going to be going again as he's got enough ERS to play with and enough fuel as well. Then Sweet and repeat his first lap then on the board. Let's see what he can do then in the McLaren. Then, of course, a very strong candidate for qualifying. Let's see if he can do it in this Australian Grand Prix as well then. Right, I think we've got some comments we need to read out, but we'll have to wait and see what Sweet MVP can do first. Let's see as he comes around the final corner. Then what can the McLaren driver do? Can he rival his teammate? Can he get himself further up the order? Then his rivals as well. Then he's on the second row of the front. Sorry, he's on the front row. He's in P2. Then both the McLarens currently locking out the front row of the grid, which is fantastic stuff indeed. Then from McLaren, of course, the Ferraris did a good job then in the actual race. Then, but McLaren they were not too far behind. This time in silver, they are taking the top 2 spots as it stands as well. Then great stuff from Sweet 100p then at 17.320. Then he's quite a bit far off his teammate, currently 2/10 or so off his teammate still, but it's still a good time then to put himself on the front row of the grid. Then I will read out the comments out now as well. Then how are you doing? Not on cam tonight. No, that's for the 100% league on Wednesdays. So we'll wait for that then in a couple of days time. Then, as Gordo said, then that was my 3rd lap on those tyres with little battery, so that is why Gordo then has struggled then on his last couple of laps or so. That is why he's running a bit late. Rain in 5 minutes, says Gordo. Apparently, at the end of qualifying, there's going to be some rainfall, so I think the drivers need to get themselves out on the circuit pronto. As Vesio has confirmed that as well, right at the end of the qualifying, there is some rain forecast. So there we are then. Right, we've just sat on board with Sweet 100p then as sorry, not Craig R. So Craig R has improved then to a 15.6, and unfortunately I think it's stayed P8 then, but he has improved by 0.2 of a second there, so it's a good improvement indeed. But at the moment then he's cruising around then, coming back to the pit lane. I think out laps for almost everybody then, apart from Mr. Elite, Irvine, Reflection, and Pot Stuff, and Sweet 100p, of course, has just returned to the pit lane. But at the moment then they are all back in the pit lane. Everybody else is out on track then as it stands. We'll come back to this battle then for the pole position. Then here comes Fandra. Then he's down in P10 then, of course, the race winner from last week. Then can he turn his fortune around here in qualifying? And we've got 2.5 minutes left to try and turn it around. Then let's see what he can do as we go down towards turn 3 then in the Williams car. All the best for Silver, says Kiki in the comment section as well. Of course, Kiki will be facing the circuit here in Bronze tomorrow night then. So that'll be on your lovely screens then at 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that then. But of course, we've got to get the silver race done and dusted first as well. Here comes Fandra now into Sector 2. I'm not sure if he improved then in Sector 1. We'll have to wait and see then overall then. But let's see what the Williams car can do now as we go through into Sector 2. There could be a Mercedes giving him a nice little toe here as we go through into the chicane then for the final time, I think, then for Fando in his qualifying attempt, that is. as unfortunately he has invalidated his time as well. Then he is pulled off to the side of the circuit. Then that is him done and dusted in qualifying, I believe, unless he can get himself harvesting some energy, then save some fuel then and go again before the checkered flag falls as well. But at the moment I'm not quite sure that is the case. Then R2 Beat then is coming through sector 3. There's a lot of traffic then trying to get himself past. All that traffic is thankfully they've got themselves out of the way. Here comes R2 Beat. Then can he improve then on at 17.9? Then he's currently in P13, looking to improve then into the top 10 potentially as well. Then round the final corner, then DRS activated up to the line. Let's see what he can do. Can he get himself further up into the order? Yes, he can. Then it's P11. Then he's improved by 2.5 tenths of a second there up into P11. Then just outside the top 10 as it stands as well. Then blimey, good stuff indeed. Then Gordo just starting off another lap as well. Then we'll have to try and find out who's going to be next across the line. That is going to be the difficult part. As Fandra, I think, is going to try and go again. Here he is. Then he's not got much ELRS to play with, but he's got enough fuel on board to at least attempt another run. No, it's not Vess here, then it's Kamara Racer then next across the line, but unfortunately has invalidated his time. Then he's going again, I think, as well. Same as Fandra, then a bit of an issue then for as Plotters is in the pit lane. Plotters abandoning his final lap. That is him done and dusted in qualifying. Unfortunately for him, then Craigar is also retired then in the pit lane, as we've got Justify coming around the final corner as Plotters then retires in the pits as well. Then action all over the place, and it looks like here comes Justify up to the line. Then let's see what he can do. He can't do anything because he's going again, that's right. So never mind, ignore me. But there we go. Then he's back underway then through turns 1 and 2 then. I think Dopey Lemons his Dustin in qualifying. He is finishing P15 at best, that is. Unfortunately not able to improve enough on his final run. We've had we've had Irvine jump up the order to a 17.8 then into P13, and I think that's his qualifying done and dusted as well here as we've got Ultimate Beast, his teammate. I thought he was just about to start off another lap then, but he has crossed the line. Then P10 then for Ultimate Beast, then P10 then 17.7 then for the Red Bull driver. Kamara Racer has retired. Then Kamara Racer's had an issue then. Where has he got? There he is at the chicane as well. Then Vessi is retired as well. Then I think at turn 6, yes he is. He's off the circuit. Then is Vessi. Both the Alfa Romeos then having issues. Then Jenner is also retired in the pit lane, and unfortunately both the Alfa Romeos on their final attempt then have had an issue at some point of the circuit. Then have crashed out then in qualifying on their final runs. Here comes Potts. I think P8 as it stands. Then let's see what he can do. Can he improve further? He can usually pull out a lap from anywhere. Can the Alpine driver? Then let's see if it's going to be good enough. Then it's P3 for the Alpine. Then Potts then P3 17.3 as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then Nigel unfortunately hasn't validated his time, but here comes Farf. Then Farf coming through into the final couple of corners. We'll come back to that because we've got Dopey Lemons I think crossing the line. No, he's coming in the pit lane, so we'll come back to Farf as we go through the final corner. Then up to the line then for the Haas driver. Can he beat his teammate? Then can he get himself further up the order? He can beat his teammate. Then he's improved by 64 thousandths of a second. Puts himself P5. Nigel down to P6. Then back in the pit lane for Nigel. Dylan currently on pole position, and I think he is going to be on pole position. That is qualified, done and dusted, as we have got a McLaren on the top step. Then Irvine retires in the pits as well, as a McLaren then take the front row of the grid then with the Sweet 100p then currently in P2. He has improved then by only a few thousandths of a second then, but he has improved nonetheless then to take away that P2 from everybody else. Then it's a McLaren front row here in Australia as the grey clouds start to form over the circuit. Then the rain was coming, but unfortunately, well fortunately for the drivers, I think it didn't come quickly enough then, so it stayed dry then for the qualifying. Second place then for Sweet 100p. Pole position then from Dylan in the other McLaren as well. Great stuff indeed for McLaren here in Australia. There is your classification then for the qualifying here for the Australian Grand Prix round 11 of season 7 of Silver. Then Dylan and Sweet MGP then lock out the front row from McLaren. Potstuff in P3, Ferrari of Glocks then in P4, Farf and Nigel P5 and P6, Jinner in P7, Camaro P8, Craigar P9, Ultimate Beast rounds off the top 10. Then Plotters in P11, then Fandro P12, difficult qualifying for the Williams driver. Then R2 Beat P13, Red Bull of Irvine P14, Vessier in P15, Dopey Lemons P16, Justify P17, Gordo P18, Mr. Elite in P19, and unfortunately for Reflection, he didn't get a time on the board.
BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
right then, we are ready to get ourselves underway for the wonderful Australian Grand Prix. And there is the grid then, just getting himself sorted for the formation lap then, as we've got our race leader, our pole position sitter of Dylan then on the hard compound tyres. His teammate Potstuff and Mags then from P2 down to P3 on the medium compound. Then we've got both the Hasses and Ginner on the hards from P5 down to P7. Mediums then for the rest of the top 10, Camaro, Craigar and Ultimate Beast. Then Plotters, hard compound tyres, same for Fangio in P12. Then medium compound for R2B. Irvine opting for the soft compound tyre. That is interesting stuff indeed. And the only driver on the grid then on the soft compound as well. Then Vessia on the medium, in P15. Then Dopey Lemons on the hards in P16. Then we've got Justified, Gordo and Mr. Elite. So both Mercedes going for the medium compound tyre, and Reflection, who didn't get a lap in qualifying, then starting from the back of the field then in P20 on the hard compound as well then. So that is the order then. That is the tyre compounds then for the start of the Australian Grand Prix. Gordo has said that Gordo and Vessia then have said that the tyre temperatures are very high then on the cars then, or around the circuit I should say. Then I think the track temperature is pretty high as well then. It looks very sunny out there here in Melbourne, so good stuff indeed then. Vintage has said the McLaren boys are up there with the best teams ever then, says Vintage in the comment section, of course, supporting Dylan and Sweet P, it sounds like then in the comments as well. Serious Mushroom said Mushroom has joined as well then, much love and good luck as well then. So let's see what the luck from Mushroom can bring then for the drivers then. 20 drivers then lining up on the grid then very shortly then for the Australian Grand Prix. 29 laps here in Melbourne, and it's going to be an exciting one, I would imagine. But it usually throws up an exciting race then in Australia, doesn't it? So we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold then. Of course, it wasn't, it was pretty exciting. It wasn't the most exciting then on Sunday morning, but it was better in Sunday evening. So there we go. Let's see what Monday evening holds as well then, as we get ourselves lined up on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix then. Just waiting for the drivers to get themselves parked up in their grid slots, and we will be underway then for the start of this race here in Melbourne. Good luck to everyone from Gordo as well. Gordo starting down P18. We need some luck then to get himself into the top 10. Let's see what he can do. We've got a very rubbish camera angle here to start off the Grand Prix, but we'll wait and see when it changes, hopefully. As the 5 red lights are coming on here in Australia then. The 5 red lights are out then, and away we go then for the Australian Grand Prix of Silver Season 7 then. Great start indeed, I think, for Dylan. Even though on the hard compound tyres, Potstuff trying to put the pressure on Sweet P into turn 1. He's gone round the outside then, has the Alpine then up into P2 then, and Sweet P dropping down the order then. He's now under pressure then from the Ferrari, of Mags. As we go into, there's a retirement from Mr. Elite and Vessia then out of the race then at turn 2. Justify's got a 5-second penalty for speeding, for a collision with Mr. Elite as well then. All sorts of action down the back of the field. We didn't quite see what happened then, but both Vessia and Mr. Elite out of the race then. A VSC has been deployed then after that incident. Not quite sure what happened there. Both of them tangled, I think, then at turn 2, exit turn 2. Like I said, it's a very dodgy place then, that turn 2, especially on a race start then. Reflection's up 5 places, then he's gained quite a lot then, so has Potstuff. He's gained 1 place. Ultimate Beast has gained 2 places then, and so has Justified and Gordo. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened there, but I'm sure we'll find out then after the race. But seemed to be the racing rules then of Australia. Then it seems that turn 2 on a race start is very difficult to get through then side by side, and of course that is what has caused this VSC. Then VSC has been deployed. Then we will be back racing. We are back racing then, and Sweet P looking to line up a move then, but now it's compromised his entry then to the final corner. Then up into P3 goes Mags, and he takes the spot away then from the McLaren, I should say. Then down the inside goes Farf, then trying to get himself through into P4. There's contact between the McLaren and the Haas as we go through the final corner. Then up into P4 goes Farf, and Sweet P has lost out 3 places then after that on that 1 lap then, after that great start then indeed then as well then for Potstuff and for Mags, now taking the precedent as well up into the podium places now for the Ferrari driver, the championship leader then trying to get himself back into the podium places, and he has done so far. Blimey. Okay, that was a interesting start, that was, but out in front then it seemed to be all fine and dandy then for most of the drivers, I think. Unfortunately for Dopey Lemons, then he's dropped off the field, then he's down to P18 then losing 2 places. Reflection has lost out 2 places as well on that restart, then to Gordo and to Justify as well. Justify's got that 5-second penalty that we added onto his race time or his pit stop time when he does come into the box then, but of course that we'll have to wait and see when that unfolds then in the latter stages then, or the next stages, the next stint then of this race. Then Irvine's got himself past RTB then up into P13 trying to chase down Fandra then, who's all over the back. Then there's all sorts of action here with Blotters, with Kamara Racer, who's lost out 2 places as Kamara as we go through the chicane once again. Then I think there's a few dodgy moves there going through the chicane. Then that chicane is very difficult to negotiate, especially if you're battling with other drivers. Nigel's lost out then to Jinner then as we go through into sector 3. Vessi has left the session then. Jinner and Ultimate Beast then battling away. Then Ultimate Beast off the circuit. There's contact with the Haas, but thankfully they managed to keep themselves on the circuit after that as well then. And goodness me, then that was getting feisty indeed. And Ultimate Beast trying to battle back then. Potts sets the fast lap of the race. Then DRS now have activated, of course. Then the VSC does not play a factor then in the DRS being reactivated as we go into turn 1 once again. But blimey, oh my goodness, there's all sorts of action down the field. Then they've lost a lot of time then to the top 5. Then has Jinner and Nigel as well. Then no battling then through that through sector 3. Then has cost them dearly as it stands then. But can they get themselves back in the fight? We'll have to wait and see. Jinner then up into P6 then has gained a place then off the starting grid that is, but in lap 3 now. 2 laps have been completed and there's an incident there for Craigar. Craigar's had an issue then, and that's a safety car then on lap 3. Then Reflection has gone through, thankfully unscathed then, but the safety car released. Then Craigar losing the car at turn 5 and is out of the race as well. Then safety car deployed then. Of course we had, I'm not quite sure we had the VSC for, but both Vessia and Mr. Elite retired then on lap 1 then under the VSC then. And Craigar then with a big smash then through turn 5 then has lost the car and cost himself a place in the race as a safety car has been deployed now. Will anybody come in the pit lane? I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see. Then we'll switch over the tyre compounds and see what everyone is doing. But blimey then, a very action-packed start to this race then so far. Con says go to LOI, and I think Dylan then is looking quite strong in the lead of the race then at the moment then, that is. So good stuff. Need nobody electing to pit then from the top 5. I don't think so. No, they're all staying out then in the top 5. Let's see what Jinner's going to be up to then. Jinner stays out then, so does Nigel, so does Ultimate Beast, and so does Kamara Racer. And I think it's too early, and maybe for Irvine coming in the pit lane. It's too early for those on the mediums and the hards then to come into the box then just yet. Then potentially down the back of the field, we have got some action. Justify stayed out then. I would have thought Justify would have used that opportunity to take that penalty away then, but unfortunately not then, as Dopey Evans is in the box as well. Same for Irvine, same for Gordo and Reflection, as a new set of boots onto those 4 cars as well then. Irvine onto the hard compound tyres, and let's see how he can go. Can he get to the end of the race from here on those hard compound tyres? I tried it yesterday and it didn't work out very well, so maybe not, but maybe Irvine has got some better skill than I do and he can get himself to the finish line from there. 25 laps to go then, so that would be a mammoth stint indeed if that is possible. So Itchy has put some popcorn in the chat as well then, so good stuff indeed. Yeah, we've got some popcorn already, as I think well, to be fair then, that safety car was wasn't caused by anybody really apart from Craigar then losing the car at turn 5. There was no racing incident or anything there. I don't think it was just purely the car losing the back end and flying off into the wall, which was very unfortunate then for Craigar then, who had a good qualifying once again in the top 8. I think he was anyway, but he's dropped down the field then to P18 and out of this race as well then. So 17 cars remain then on lap 4. We've only got a few laps left to go, and we've already started to drop the drivers like some flies, or like some shrimp, I suppose you could say, around here on the barbecue. But there we go then. Favre doesn't need a second invite. Don't leave him space like that, says Serious Motion then. So there we go, that's confirmed. Yeah, right then we'll have to wait for the safety car to come back in there. It's not going to be in this lap, I don't think. It'll be end of lap 5 then, so we'll have to wait and see when that safety car turns off his lights then and gets himself back in the pit lane and out of our way for some racing as well then. But so far a nice steady start, shall we say, then to Silver after the VSC on lap 1, and then we've got as Justify is in the pit lane then to serve that penalty as well then. So he has heard the call, but yeah, we had a steady start, I would say. It was absolutely nothing like it. It was an absolute rapid start. But the VSC then deployed then for the incident for Vessia and Mr. Elite then at the exit of turn 2 on lap 1. And now the safety car deployed on lap 3 then for Craigar, who went into the wall then at turn 5 on the exit and just lost the car on his own then, unfortunately, there, and is out of the race. So a big shame there for Craig Gardner, who is hopefully going to be turning his season around then very soon. We've only got 6 races after this one. Break week, of course, is coming up next week then, and then we've got another break week at the beginning of May, and then we've got 2 after that, and that's it pretty much. for F123 as well. Then we'll be on to F124 after that. But when we will start that season, who knows? But first of all, we've got to get through this season as well. Then so far, it's looking good for Dylan. That safety car is actually helping him, of course, extend his tyre life. But it's the same for everybody else behind him who haven't fitted. Down to P12 then. Irvine Gordo on fresh hard compound tyres, P13 and P14, then Dopey Lemons and Reflection on mediums, then P15 and P16, and Justify has come into the pits and got himself onto a set of hard compound tyres and served that 5-second penalty that he got for the collision then at the, I think it was involved in lap 1 then with the pile up then at turn 2 then with Mr. and Bessia. But there we go, then safety car is coming in this lap, then we'll come back to that, and there he's and there he is, and he is cruising along through the exit of the chicane, then trying to get himself warmed up then, or trying to get his tyres warmed up. I don't think he needs to be warmed up himself then, because of course it's very hot here in Australia, but he needs to get those tyres in the right operating temperature then to get himself a good restart here, and a very slow restart indeed as well then from the McLaren driver. Then it's safety car is already in the pit lane, and we haven't gone through turn 12 yet, but yeah, I think we're going to get ourselves on the way very shortly indeed. It's a very early restart as well. Then here he goes, then not Gordo, sorry, Dylan then has dropped the hammer already on those hard compound tyres. Those on the medium compound tyres are battling as well. What's happened to Kamara racing? He's lost out 2 places then on the restart of the race then. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Kamara dropping down 2 places then, but he's now, I think Plotters is letting him back through, but he might invite the Aston Martin of R2 Beat then to come through as well as we go down towards turn 1 then. It's going to be close indeed, tight indeed. Then R2 Beat has taken the place then up in front of the AlphaTauri, then up into P11 now on those medium compound tyres then, but I'm not quite sure what happened between Plotters then and Kamara Racing then on that restart, but they have has compromised Plotters then, hasn't it? Justify and Reflection then battling away then through turn 3, round the outside goes the Alpine, then he's got himself that place then up into P16 now as well, up into, I think that fight's going to carry on then as Plotters then is dropping down the order. Plotters has had an issue then somewhere, he's lost out then to 3 drivers then on that on this first lap then after the safety car, and I'm not quite sure if there's an issue then for the AlphaTauri, if there's a technical fault then or something else is going on there, as he's now been passed by Reflection and his teammate as well. Then I think he's going to be lining up a move very shortly as well then as we go into the chicane. No, not quite then. I think Plotters has got himself sorted now as well. Then not quite sure what was going on there, but he's now back underway, I think. Both the AlphaTauri are trying to fight at this stage. Then here we go, then down towards turn 12 then, and now Plotters is back on it and back past Reflection, that is. Reflection with another lovely little switchback there. He's got himself back through then on the AlphaTauri, and well, I don't think he wasn't having that, was he? He was going to be he wants to be fighting for that position as well. He's got himself back up into P15. Further up the order, I need to come back to this battle up in the top then, because this is where the action is as well. But there we go. Pot Stuff then is on the medium compound tyres. He's trying to keep up with Dylan then on this thing. Then lap 7 has been commenced, and we get ourselves through the first quarter of this race now. As let's see how it's going to unfold. And medium compound tyres now on everybody's car, apart from those on the hard. That is no more soft compound tyres in sight, which is good. R2 Beat and Irvine battling away. Then there's a Mercedes of Gordo involved in that as well. Then through turn 4. And he's unsettled the Mercedes car, and now round the outside. I thought Dopey Lemons was trying to go around the outside there. That was going to be a very dodgy move indeed, but he thought better of it, I think. Nigel's lost out then to the top 5. The top 5 once again then trying to split away then from the rest of the pack then as we go through the chicane once again then on lap 7. Here we go, flying through then, and now here comes Sweet and Repeat. Then he's got the pace now once again. He's regained the pace then after that difficult lap 1, losing 3 positions. Then Irvine and R2 Beat then switching places as well. Once again then there's contact with Gordo and R2 Beat in the background as well. Then Gordo trying to get himself past the Aston Martin, and here comes Dopey Lemons as well then to put his nose into the fight too as we go down the inside for Gordo then into turn 12. Then he's got the position, I think, just ahead. There's action in the background. Justify has been knocked off the circuit. Then he's down to P17, but he's back underway. And R2 Beat then and Gordo then switching places then as DRS has been enabled now, of course, on lap 8 this time. But we won't have DRS down the main straight. We'll have DRS then through sector 2. And that's a double dosage as well. There's one detection point, 2 activation points, that is. So there's lots of DRS to be had around his circuit. Then 4 activation points, which is quite enough. So there we go. Craig R said he's having an issue. Then he's had an issue with the wheel or something like that. I think he's having technical difficulties, which is how the incident was caused. Then Dopey Lemons then trying to get himself past R2 Beat round the outside at turn 4. Then has to think twice about that one. He's lost out then. Well, he's not lost out, but he's sat behind then the Aston Martin for the time being. as Irvine then the top 10 now trying to stretch away then from the rest of the field then as we go up to the top of the top 5 that is, and they're really split off from the rest of the pack as it stands then. Fanjo with DRS has got himself past Ultimate Beast then into P8 now as we've got an Aston Martin off the circuit. That's Jenner off the circuit. Where's he gone? He's flying off straight away off the chicane then as Kamara Racer's got himself through then up into P9 then trying to get himself back into the fight then as Kamara then into the points pair positions now as well. But Jenner then not quite sure what happened there, but he seemed to be just going straight on, maybe a bit of a brake failure then for the Aston Martin, but he got himself sorted thankfully quickly enough then to regain the place. Then he's still in the top 10 as well as it stands, so it's not all doom and gloom just yet then, but unfortunately Virginia then lost out a couple of places as well there after that incident into the chicane. Like I said, serious rush, and then encouraging Craig Garg and wishing him some luck then. Of course, the new game is coming out very soon as Mags then and Potstuff battling into turn 3. There's contact and Potstuff holds the place then just about. Then he's just about held on to P2, I think, through turn 4 as well. Then yes, he has, and he's crucially still within DRS range then of Dylan then, because that will help defend from the Ferrari then, who is right behind his gearbox now as we go through turn 6 as well. As like I said, it's losing time then, is Potstuff then to the McLaren. Then that McLaren has been pretty fast, it looks like. DRS of course now available then for the Alpine, and of course for everybody within the 1 second window as Farf and Sweet and Repeat switching places. Then up into P4 goes the McLaren, then up into P4, back up into P4 of course. He did start P2 then, but he's now trying to get himself back in the fight then. He's still in the fight then. Top 5 are very close indeed. Hard compound tyres for the race leader then of Dylan. Here comes Potstuff then down the outside then into turn 12. Can he hold the move then? Can he keep the position then? Yes he can. I think he can. Yes he can. Good stuff indeed. He takes the race lead then on lap 9. But of course Dylan will try to fight back then with some DRS to play with as well then as we go down the main straight and then towards turn 3 as well. Then here comes Dylan in the McLaren now. Potstuff is under pressure, I think, then from the McLaren as we go through towards turn 1. Not quite then. He's sitting back now is Dylan there, just biding his time then as here comes the Ferrari of Mags then all over the back of him as well, then trying to fight for P2 as we fly through down towards turn 3. Action behind then as Nigel now has been caught by Fanjo as well. Then Beast is in that fight as well. Then Kamara Racer is 1.6 seconds off. Then looking to get himself back in the range. Then Jenner has dropped off now. He's under pressure from Irvine now as Irvine trying to go around the outside of turn 3. Oh, it's tight indeed then, but Jenner then holds on to P10 for the time being. Now there's a freshness of tyres. Then of course it's 3 laps difference between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin. Of course Irvine did choose to pit under the safety car, so that is why he's got slightly fresher tyres down the field ahead of him as well. And so is Gordo as well. So is everybody down from P11 there down to P17, apart from R2B and for Plotters as well. Then here comes Irvine then into the top 10. Then he's got the position, he's got the move. Then up into P10 now for the Red Bull driver. Then both the Red Bulls looking good indeed. Potstuff has been passed then by Dylan there into turn 12. Then the McLaren back ahead then into the lead of the Grand Prix as we go through to the end of lap 10. As down the back of the field we've got Jenner and Gordo battling away. Then Jenner's off the circuit. Then Jenner's gone through. Gordo's gone through. Then up into P11. Then Jenner then off the circuit at the exit of turn 12. Then has lost a bit of traction then on the curbs, and that has cost him his place then to the Mercedes driver as well. Then here comes Dopey Lemons then on the medium compound tyres trying to go around the outside at the final corner. I'm not quite sure that's an overtaking place, sir, but nonetheless he is now all over the back then of the Aston Martin of Jenner as well. Then Jenner starting to struggle, I think, on the hard compound tyres. Then I would expect they could probably do about 20 or so laps. Then Plotters and Justifier switch places in the Alpha Tauris down the back of the field. Then of course Justifier's on fresher tyres compared to Plotters as well. Then Dopey Lemons and Jenner then battling away then into turn 3, and now the Williams is ahead then of the Aston Martin. Then P12 now for Dopey Lemons. Then can he power on then get himself into the top 10 in the next stage of this race as well? Yellow flags for Jenner. Then Jenner's off the circuit. Then Jenner's had a smash then at turn 5. It's another safety car then for Jenner. Not for Jenner, for everybody else. But unfortunately for Jenner, then he's out of the race at turn 5. Not quite sure what caused that as well, because it looked like he was still bouncing along the wall at one point there, but he is out of the race then as Jenner. Then safety car has been deployed, and unfortunately that is now only 16 runners left in the race. Then let's see how this is going to factor into the strategy then as well. And Jenner has left the session, unfortunately he is out of the race, and 2 safety cars then caused at turn 5, one for Craig R, one for Jenner then, and a VSC on lap 1 then for the incident between Vessia and Mr. Elite that cost them both a place in the race as well. Then action-packed so far then in the first third of this race. Let's see what's going to happen here then. Dylan into the box, then so same Potstuff. I think all the medium cars definitely will be pitting. It's seems like all the hard compound runners are also picking as well. The safety car will collect the race leaders. Let's see if anyone can carry on then. I thought Fandor was carrying on then. Into pit comes everybody, I think. Then everyone is boxing as it stands, I believe. No, Justify and Plotters then are going to carry on, it looks like. So they're going to soldier on then, take the race lead, I think, here, as we go through onto the next lap. Then I think Dylan, will he come out ahead? Yes, he will. Then as he, oh dear, that's AlphaTauri. They're very eager to get himself into the race lead then, but lost out then to Dylan and almost lost the car then through turn 1, but thankfully didn't. So that's good. Both the AlphaTauris, as Mags has got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Plotters then as well. Not quite sure what happened there. Then he's lost the front end plate as well. Then as Mags, that is going to be terrible stuff indeed then for the championship leader, and I'm not quite sure what happened then between Plotters and Mags then under the safety car, but that will have to be reviewed, I'm sure, after the race. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but well, that is damage then for the Ferrari for sure. And that is going to be another pit stop as well for sure for the Ferrari driver as well. So I'm not quite sure what happened under that one, but it seemed like Mags went into the back end of the AlphaTauri ahead. Whether the AlphaTauri slowed down too quickly or not is another question, but we'll have to wait and see after the race. But yes, interesting stuff indeed. Not so interesting stuff indeed then for Mags, then, who was not looking for that, of course. Didn't need that safety car, said Gordon. And seen that coming as well, says Serious Rushman as well. Then unfortunately, I think that was referring to Gina then and the safety car coming out then on lap 11, of course. But there we go, then we are through the order then. Everyone is already in the safety car Crocodile. Mags has got that 5-second penalty to serve as well. Then I think he might just be coming into the pit lane to, of course, change that front wing and serve that 5-second penalty. Whether he's got the pace then to get himself back at the field, we shall see. But he's a championship leader for a reason. Then we will have to. Well, I'm sure we will see Mags then back in the points pen positions if he can get himself onto with a new front wing, that is, onto a new set of tyres as well. Then as we go through to finish off lap 12, of course, safety car will be out for one more lap, and it'll be in at the end of lap 13. Into the pit comes Plotters then and Mags as well. And so both drivers have had that incident under the safety car is into the pit lane. 5-second over speeding the pit lane for Plotters as well. And unfortunately for the AlphaTauri driver, that is going to be added to his race time or his next pit stop. Should he make another pit stop as well, then that is as Mags and Plotters now dropping down to the back of the field, unfortunately for those two. Justify has stayed out and he's done 8 laps on the hard compound tyres. Everybody else is on much fresher hards or medium compound tyres. And I don't think that AlphaTauri then is going to have much of a chance then compared to those around him as well. Then they are going to be flying through, I think, very quickly indeed. Then those around or those behind him as well. That is, as he's going to be struggling to keep up then with Dylan, I think, on those fresh medium compound tyres compared to the older hards as well. Then so we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold then between the rest of the field and Justify, who is stuck on the hard compound tyres and staying out then after the first safety car. We're on to the safety car number 2 here. So we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold in the rest of the race then. Almost at the halfway distance, and the safety car, of course, will be in at the end of this lap then, and we can crack on then for the rest of the race. Mediums might make it still, says Serious Mushroom. Well, if you watch the gold race, you would see that the mediums actually made it 22 laps then in some people's instances. Unfortunately for Mr. Raging Bull, he had quite a lot of penalties that cost him a place in the top 10, but he did do 22 laps in the medium compound tyres, and the same, I think, Brett Paz, who finished in P7, I believe. So yeah, it's possible then for the medium compound tyres then to get to 22 laps then under their belts, and I think they've got to do less here. They've got, 17 laps to go or so. So I think the mediums can definitely get to the end if they were to be pushed to the end, that is. But we might see some more stops coming in the next in the near future, that is, in the next few laps or so. But first we've got to get a safety car restart underway. And Dylan once again then taking it nice and easy then, it looks like, on this restart, as the safety car is already back in the pit lane as well now, and Dylan is not gone as early as he did last time then, but he's going to go early, I think, again then, to try and catch out the drivers ahead, well, behind him I should say, as safety car now into the box then, and Dylan is underway then. He's gone, and he's got a great gap indeed, a great restart then from the McLaren driver then. It's almost going to be 2 seconds before he gets to the start finish line, as Potstaff then is under pressure now for Farf as we go through the final corner then onto lap 14, I should say. We're trying to get ahead of myself there. Justify has lost 2 seconds then to Dylan then into the first turn then, as here we go then, all over the back then was Farf then. Potstaff was going to be putting the pressure on Justify, but it's Farf putting the pressure on the Alpine then for that P3 position then. Into turn 3 we go then. Oh, there's going to be contact there. Oh, that was very close indeed then. Oh, and I think Justify lost traction then as well. There's almost contact again then as we go through turn 5, round the outside goes Favre, then he's got the place, then P3 for Justify, then here comes Potstaff up into P3 as well, back in the podium places now with the AlphaTauri. There's contact between Fangio then and I think the AlphaTauri then as well. Justify off the circuit then, and he's got himself back underway then, but unfortunately I'm not quite sure what happened there between Justify and Fangio. It looked like Fangio went in the back of him, not Alonso and Russell-esque. But there we go. Thankfully, not Alonso and Russell-esque then, but Justify's lost out to Porto now as well. Then those hard compound tyres are not the best tyre to be on, especially how old they are as well. Then Nigel's dropped down the back of the field as well. Didn't see what happened between Nigel and Ultimate Beast then, but they're down the back of the field then. Into the chicane we go then for both the Haas and the Red Bull. Then the Red Bull all over the back of the Haas car as we go down towards Sector 3. And yeah, blimey, this is oh god, there's a dive bomb there from the Red Bull car, and he's lost out then. No, he hasn't. He's managed to keep hold of the place then, has Ultimate Beast then up into P15 now, as Plotters has got that 5-second motor to be added onto his race time. Dylan sets the fastest lap. He's now got a 3-second gap to Favre. Then there's contact between the R2B and Dopey Lemons there, I think. Oh no, it's Fangio. No, it wasn't. It was Dopey Lemons there, and on the final corner, both cars have lost out. They've both got themselves back underway very quickly indeed. They've lost out to Irvine there, but unfortunately then, for R2B, I think that contact cost him mostly, as Dopey Lemons has got himself over to P11 then, but I think that's very uncharacteristically then, a bit unsavoury then from the Williams driver. Swim P has been passed by Gordo on the medium compound tyres, now up to P4 and looking good in this race so far. Then Swim P was on the hard compound as Fangio is into the pit and onto a set of medium compound tyres. So as Nigel is out of the race then as well, then blimey, what is going on here as Nigel then has retired at turn 5 as well then. Turn 5 has been catching out 3 drivers in this race. 15 now remain, and safety car is deployed. That's going to be good news for Fangio, then he can catch up to the field. But not quite sure how the drivers then are computing turn 5, as it seems to be catching out quite a few here. Fangio then is up into P15 now as well. Nigel is out of the race then after that crash at turn 5. Dylan then get them restarts down, says Vintage as well. I think Dylan then is going to be having to do another restart here, unless he decides to pit then, and maybe some other drivers stay out then, but he seems to be staying out at this stage. Favre is staying out as well then. Yes, he is then in P2. Then Potstaff carries on as well, as I think there'll be some more stops to come. Then Justifies in the pit lane now. He's failing on the hard compound tyres. Wasn't the right call, I don't think, on that restart. Unfortunately, then not on the restart. Then under that last safety car, then to Justify. R2B picks up the 5-second penalty for his speed in the pit lane. Unfortunately for him, Plotters then will be able to use that use this pit to take away that 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane on the previous lap or previous safety car, as R2B is onto the soft compound tyres. Not quite sure they're going to be able to get themselves to the end of the race there, sir, but we will wait and see, as the softs, well, they did say, I think the softs were the starting strategy then, wasn't it, for the softs, and then the medium compound tyres then around this circuit for a 50% race, so potentially the softs can last. We'll wait and see then. Plotters then has lost out. I think he was double stacking behind his teammate, and Fangio got himself ahead of Ultimate Beast, but no, he hasn't. As Ultimate Beast has got himself back through then into P13 then. So there we go then. RTB got a 5-second over speeding in the pit lane. I think you're going to have to come back to the pits and serve that now, so that he can get that removed as well, and of course not affect his end result, or his end race time I should say. Right then, so everybody from outside the top 10 then has pitted under the safety car. Justify on fresh set of mediums, same for Ultimate Beast in P13. Fangio, of course, has done one extra lap, but he's on medium compound tyres, and same for Plotters in P15. R2P on the soft compound tyres in P12, but I think has that 5-second penalty to be added onto his race time, should he not pit again. But right then, we'll get ourselves, I think we'll be getting ourselves restarted then on the next lap. The safety car hopefully will be in at the end of lap 17, then 12 laps remain then after, or 13 laps remain after that one, and we can get ourselves to the checkered flag hopefully in one piece. But so far it seems like Mr. Elite has left. Mr. Elite is out of the race, and unfortunately he was out of the race on lap 1, wasn't he? So unfortunately Mr. Elite then involved in that lap 1 incident then with Vesser then at the exit of turn 2, which caused the VSC. So unfortunately we've got 5 drivers out, as we've got R2B into the box, so he is pulling it away then on those soft compound tyres, and trying to get that penalty served as well, I think. And thankfully this time did not speed in the pit, which is good. So into the box he goes then, 5-second penalty to serve then as well, and he's onto another set of soft compound tyres as well then. So of course the good thing about that, if they're not used tyres, that is. If they're not used tyres, that is, then you're going to have 1 lap fresher tyres then on those soft compound than he did on the previous lap. so that's better. But he's cruising out the pit lane now then to catch up to the safety car queue. Then those soft compound tyres are going to be very quick indeed in the first 5 or 6 laps or so then before they start to wear out, I would imagine. But let's see what's going to happen then in the latter stages now of this race, the second third, or final third of this race now as well. As we hopefully get ourselves restarted at the end of lap 17, then on to lap 18. Dylan once again then to lead us away on the next restart. Will he catch out far like he did with Justify as well then, like he did with Pot Stuff on the previous restart as well? Then we'll have to wait and see what the McLaren driver has got in store for us tonight, or on our third restart, that is. Thankfully, hopefully we'll have less restarts, and that'll be it for the time being. No more restarts, please. But there we go then. This is safety car is coming in this lap, which is good, so we can get out of the way now. And Dylan will be once again doing the restart for this Grand Prix onto lap 18. So let's have a look and see what's going to be going on there. Will the mediums get to the end of the race from here? They've got to do 13 more laps, then that will be around 18 laps in on those medium compound tyres. Doable for sure. The hards of Pot Stuff, Sweet Repeat and Kamara Racer could be in a prime position at the end of the race then, if they can hold on to those on the mediums right now. Right then, so Dopey Lemons and Justify seem to be having a few issues on the safety car, but we will get ourselves restarted once again then. This time Dylan then is going to be, when's he going to go is the question. He's gone already, I think, there, and Farf has not been caught out here, so Farf then has been able to keep with the McLaren. Then he realised what the McLaren's game was, and Farfo's not having any of it there as well, as he stayed very close indeed to the McLaren as we go through the final corner then to start off lap 18 of 29 here. And it looks like this time everyone's got themselves through very cleanly indeed, which is nice to see. R2 then on the soft compound tyres. Then let's see what he can do then in the last phase of this race then, as we go through into turn 2 as well. Now down towards turn 3, it seems like everyone's got themselves through unscathed. And here comes Mags on the back of Kamara Racer up into P6 on the medium compound tyres. I think Kamara very wise that he wasn't fighting that one too hard, because he knew that Mags on the medium compound tyres was going to get through anyway. And of course he can then hopefully bounce back then at the latter stages of this race on those hard compound tyres as well. Everyone has got themselves through unscathed, thankfully, this time, which is nice, especially through turn 5. And we can get ourselves through onto turn 6 now as well, of course, where we had the wonderful George Russell and Alonso incident on Sunday morning. But we hopefully won't have that here tonight in silver. But now into the chicane once again, then Farf and Dylan then trying to get themselves a nice sizable gap then already, 1 second to Pot Stuff in P3. Those on the hard compound tyres won't be as fast, of course, at this stage, but potentially they will phase in the end of this stint. Then we'll have to wait and see how it unfolds then, as Ultimate Beast and Justify battling away then up into P11 now for Ultimate Beast then on the fresh medium compound tyres. Those on the fresh medium compound tyres might be a force to be reckoned with then towards the end of this race as well, because they are a 4 or 5 laps younger tyres than those who are on older mediums. And then Dopey Lemons, they're having an issue out the final corner then, and now opening the window potentially for Ultimate Beast to try and go down the inside into turn 1. Not quite, he sits behind, he thinks better of it. I think that's probably the best as well then, otherwise that front wing could be in danger as we go down towards turn 3. And Ultimate Beast is all over the back then of the winning car. Then that moment then for Dopey Lemons has really interested the Red Bull in the back of that Williams gearbox, hasn't it? As we go through into turn 5 once again, and hopefully this time everyone gets through turn 5 unscathed. Yes, so far. Thankfully, everyone has got through turn 5 unscathed on lap 19, and we can go for another 10 laps now as well. Then Dylan then is almost a second out of range then for Farf as well. Farf is dropping off the back of that McLaren. That McLaren is flying at this stage, and the race leader is looking good. Then it's Fanjo and Justify then switching places then, as Justify has lost out then, as Potstar picks up a 3-second penalty going through the chicane. That is going to be very costly indeed as it stands as well. Then Justify picks up a penalty as well then, unfortunately at the same place then, so 3-second penalties then for Potstar and for Justify then added on to their race times at the end of the Grand Prix as it stands. And that is going to be very costly indeed then, especially for Potstar, who's currently in the podium places. But Gordo is in line for a podium here, so is potentially Sweet and Repeat then, and Max and Kamara Racer, if he can hold on as well then. It is not all done and dusted. Kamara Racers haven't actually dropped off the back then of the top 6 now, as Max is all over the back then of Sweet and Repeat as we go down towards turn 1. Is he going to make the move down the inside? Yes, he is. He's up into P5, I should say, and ahead of the McLaren then as well. I think Sweet and Repeat. Same as Kamara Racer then, was just holding back then, but of course on the hard compound tyres, expecting to be phasing back in then at the end of this race then, compared to those on the older medium compound tyres. They're actually the same life medium compound tyres, but of course they will drop off quicker than those on the hard compound. 2 seconds separates Potsdam then from the top 2 Farth is holding on to DRS then of the McLaren then as we go through into sector 2, very wide there from Farth. Has he got DRS to play with? No ERS to play with, but he has got that rear wing open then on the hash then to pull himself back into range then of the McLaren. Here comes Gordon then lining up a move then for P3 then on Potstuff as we go through into the chicane. Oh my goodness me, that's close indeed there. Potstuff has yielded just in time then, and I think that was going to be very close indeed to contact between the Mercedes and the Alpine. The Alpine has dropped down to P4, but here he comes then on the back of the Mercedes. Then of course DRS for Gordo has held him, kept him in P3 as it stands then. Blimey. It's been a pretty good race so far. Lap 20, we're on to lap 21 as we got Gordo then going wide then at the penultimate corner then, and that has allowed Potstuff back through, and Gordo struggling there now. I think Mags is going to be lining up a move as well then with some DRS then. Camaro picks up a 3-second penalty. There's a smash in the background for Dopey Lemons. There's another safety car, I think. Yes, it is. It's another safety car, and Dopey Lemons and Ultimate Beast have come together somewhere because Ultimate Beast has lost his front wing, and unfortunately I'm not quite sure if, I think it looked like Dopey Lemons just went off in the background. We saw a Williams car spinning off at the final corner then, and I think he's been caught out then by that final corner, and Ultimate Beast, I believe, had nowhere to go then. I think he was behind the Williams car then and just got collected by the spinning car, and unfortunately, hopefully that's not the chassis then destroyed then for Dopey Lemons then, but all jokes aside then, hopefully that was just a bit of an issue then for the traction zone. But another safety car then, here we are into the final stages of this race then, and I think we've had four. We've had four, have we? I'm not quite sure. I can't remember how many we've had now. But there we go then. 6 retirements already so far, as Ultimate Beast has been passed by his teammate of Irvine now. Irvine has got himself up into P13 somehow. Not quite sure what's going on there, but there we go then. As Farth and Dylan then pushing on then, trying to get themselves into the pit lane, I think then. I think this is going to be a time for everyone to go on the soft compound tyres. We'll have to wait and see. Could be a risk of a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, popping up then in the latter stages. Dopey Lemons has left the session. Unfortunately for Dopey Lemons, that big smash then at the final corner has cost him his place in the Grand Prix. Softs for Soft says serious rush and then time to pit then for the soft compound tyres. Dylan though is staying out then, so Dylan stays out then. Interesting call. Potstuff coming in the pit lane. Mags. There's Mags. Mags is coming in the pit lane as well, then same for Gordo as well. Then there's all sorts of pit activity here as we slow ourselves down to get ourselves into the box then. In the background, then RTB is also in the pit lane. There's all sorts of action as everybody is in the pit lane apart from Dylan. This is a very big call then from Dylan. Then Justify stayed out as well actually, but Justify is on much fresher medium compound tyres then. So that is maybe a better call then from Justify this time on those medium compound tyres. But the softs for Farth, for everybody down in the field then, for Potstuff, for Mags, for Gordo, for Sweet 100p, then for Camaro, for Reflection, for Banjo, for Plotters, for R2B, for Irvine, and I'm sure for Ultimate Beast as well then, will be all over the back of them then, as we've got a 3-second penalty for Reflection then under the safety car, unfortunately going through turn 1 and 2, which is bad news then for the Alpine driver. Then that will be added onto his race time as it stands. Then penalties then are 3 seconds for Justify, 3 for Potstuff, 3 for Camaro, and 3 for Reflection to be added onto their races at the end of the Grand Prix. ALR Esports has said there's 4 safety cars. Yes, well spotted. Yeah, have you been watching the stream, ALR Esports? Yeah, we have got 4 safety cars. This is the 4th one, and we've had a VSC at the very start as well then for whatever happened then at turn 2. There we are then. Right, the safety car will be not in this lap then. We'll have to wait for Ultimate Beast to come back around then and catch up to the queue. We will get ourselves racing, I think, at the end of lap 23, which will mean we've got, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 laps of racing if it does come in at the end of lap 23. Right then, medium runners are going to be, Dylan's going to be having to hope for a very good restart on this one as well then, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to unfold, but we will wait and see. Unfortunately, as it stands, Farm is on the podium, and that will mean he has an interview then at the end of the race, which is bad news. Not ideal, says Itchy then, so unfortunately might be a mistake then from Dylan, says Serious Mushroom then. Not sure that's the right call then for the McLaren driver from Ginger Rage as well then, so there's a few who think that the medium compound tyres might be having a few issues towards the end of this race then. Could Farth take the win here? Justify might be in the shout then as well. That penalty win will demote him down the order at the end of the race, but we will wait and see. Irvine is back in the pit lane then. He's on to another set of soft compound tyres. It looks like, and a wing change then for the Red Bull driver. Must have had an issue then under the safety car on the last lap then. Ultimate Beast up into P13. and Irvine there trundling down the pit lane now as well to get himself out of the box then and into the fight then for the for the points pairing positions pretty much, because we've only got 4 drivers outside the points at this as it stands, and there's a lot of penalties ahead, so potentially even if Irvine just keeps it clean, then he can get himself into the top 10 with the penalty situations then for the drivers ahead of him as well. As I said, the Faf is in the box seat, and that is a terrible place for Faf to beat, because we don't want that. Definitely don't want Faf getting a win, let alone having an interview then for the top 3. So, yeah, so that's that. But so far, he is in line for a podium, unfortunately, as you can say through gritted teeth. But there we go then. Lap 23 that has commenced then. We are on to the final few stages. 6 laps will remain then at the end of this one. And I think the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap as well, then, as Irvine is caught up to the back of the queue. And we can get ourselves back underway as well then, very shortly, hopefully. And for some reason it's not coming in, which is great. So there we go, then we're going to just sit on the safety car for the rest of the laps then, shall we? Safety car is coming in this lap then, so Dylan now is going to have to do another restart then. Tomorrow in reflection somehow, having a few issues switching around then in the back of the field, well, in the middle of the field really, but at the moment they are P8 and P9, and hopefully that is the case. But Dylan is going to be doing once again another restart here, but we'll have to wait and see when he's going to drop the hammer then. Of course, he's on much older tyres compared to Justify, but he's also on very much older tyres compared to the rest of the field, who are on soft compounds after filling them under the safety car here. Into the penultimate corner we go then. When will he go once again? Then he is going once again now as well. Then can he catch out Justify once again as well on the safety car restart? This time I think Justify is within range of the McLaren, but I think Faf then is a great restart. Then he's lining up a move then before the start finish straight. Can he get himself into P2 before we get to turn 1? Yes, he can. I think he can. No, I don't think he can. Yes, he can. There he is. He's up into P2 as Faf picks up a 3-second penalty, then going wide at turn 2. And unfortunately, that is going to be very costly indeed then for Faf as we go through into lap 24 now. Blimey. So here we go then. Oh, as we've got pot stuff going down the inside then at turn 4. Can he get the move then? Justifies off the circuit, then he's got a penalty as well then into turn 5, and oh my goodness me, that McLaren then just about avoiding the Alpha Tauri as we go through into turn 6 as well. Now Kamara Racer all over the back here, and Justifies having a few issues out there. It looks like on those old medium compound tyres he's being swamped then by all those on the soft compound. Kamara up into P7 then, getting himself past. Here comes Reflecting, here comes Fangio then flying through then, and there's all sorts of action as Max takes podium place then away from pot stuff as it stands. Into the chicane we go, and the champions are now into the podium places then on merit as well then, in the fight as well then. This is looking good indeed then for Max then to get himself some good points, even though it looked like it was going to be unfavourable then for him at one point of the race then. Fangio got himself past Reflection into turn 12, then he keeps hold of that place as well, then Reflection onto the curb slightly as well then. Justifies just struggling away then on those medium compound tyres then. He's all over the circuit then as well, trying to keep that car under control then as Plotter's gone in, Plotter's gone in the background then as well. There's contact between R2B and Ultimate Beast onto the final corner then as we go through onto lap 25. Blimey, it's all action packed here, as if the drivers keep it clean, to be fair, in the back of the field, then they will actually get themselves into the top 10 as it stands, with the penalty situations then for all the drivers around them. And there is your driver of the day poll. Faf has taken the lead. I've completely missed it, but I don't care, because hopefully Faf does not get the race win, and hopefully he doesn't hold on to a podium place at this stage as well, would be my wish. But there we go then. Dylan then is a drop down to P2 then. He's now under pressure from the championship leader of Max then. Dylan, I think, has made the wrong call unfortunately here. Can he hold on to a podium place at least then for his championship charge then? But here comes Mags all over the back of him then. Faf is checked out in the distance and he's over 1 second away. Here comes Mags then with the DRS. No, he's not got DRS just yet. He's got ERS though. He's got himself up into P2 as well, into the chicane we go then, and Mags, the championship leader, then has taken back that P2 position away from Dylan then in P2 in the standings as well then. But now chasing down Faf, then he's in the next race lead, of course, with Faf's penalty to be added onto his race time as well. We go into turn 12 then. 25 laps of 29 have been completed as we cross the line very shortly to start off lap 26 then. 4 laps remain then at the end, well, at the end of this one that is, as we've got the driver of the day poll in the comment section. Faf, Gordo, Mags and Dylan are your candidates then. We'll look at the position changes then for those drivers as well then. Faf has gained 4 places, but I think with that penalty might drop himself back down the field then, sets the fastest lap. That'll be an extra point for Faf if he stays in the race, that is, for the next 4 laps or so. He's got himself a gap then to Mags then of 1.1 seconds. Then Dylan now is under pressure from pot stuff as we go through in towards turn 3 there. Here comes the Alpine then, almost contact between the two of them as we go into turn 3, and Dylan then is unsettled slightly then. Gordo Gordo all over the back of these two as well. Then as we go through into turn 4 as well now, lap 26 then is going to get feisty indeed. We've got a feisty few laps to come as well here. Dylan there has lost a lot, or used a lot of ERS. They're trying to keep up then with the field ahead of him now, but he's now under pressure as DRS has been activated as well, I think. I'm not quite sure if it has or not, to be fair, but I would imagine so. But anyway, we'll find out now as DRS, the wing opens then for the Alpine. Then here comes Potstaff up into P3. Of course, that penalty will come back to bite him. Gordo's got himself round the outside of the McLaren as well, then into P4, and now chasing down another podium place here for Gordo. Then in the Mercedes, then all over the back of Potstaff. Of course, that penalty of Potstaff will be added onto his race time at the end of the Grand Prix. Swear has got himself past Dylan as well. Then Dylan dropping down the field. Then after that, I think that's just a mistake then on the strategy call, unfortunately, then for Dylan, then Justify and Irvine switching places as well. Irvine is into 13th, I should say, after getting himself past the AlphaTauri then. Out in front, Max is now within DRS then for the race win here on track, that is. He doesn't have to pass Farf then with the penalty situation, but he might want to just for the hell of it. Gordon then is going to try to get himself into the podium places then on merit as well, then trying to get himself past Potstaff then for P3 on track, that is, as Sweet MP is hounding the Mercedes though in towards turn 3. Dylan then has stayed with the pack, then he's dropped off the field, then Fandro could be lining up a move then on the McLaren very shortly as well, but Dylan is just trying to fight for every point he can get now at this stage of the race, as Mags then is all over the back of Farf. Then Farf has not used a lot of ERS to play, as he's run out of ERS, I should say. Then that red light flashing on the back of the diffuser of the Haas. Here comes Mags, then the championship leader. Can he take the race lead here in Australia on lap 27? Then DRS, of course, available then for the Ferrari as we fly through towards the chicane. This is going to be it. This is going to be him taking the race lead. Then after a difficult first stint, then has got himself back in the race. The first half of the race, that is, as well for Glocks. He's got himself back in the race as well. Then Gordon then all over the back now of Potstaff, but here comes Sweet Repeat as well. They're in the fight then, these three, as all of them all lying astern almost, as Fandro has got himself past Dylan into P6 now as well then. Last week's race winner now trying to line up a move potentially then for some more points here tonight. Then Gordo all over the back of Potstaff still. Then Potstaff struggling on then on those hard he's on soft compound tyres. What am I doing? He's definitely on soft compound tyres. Definitely not on hard compound tyres. That is definitely correct. Favre then trying to cling on to the back of Mags then as we go along the main straight once again onto the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix here, lap 28 then of 29 then, and Gordo then is currently in line for a podium, but Sweet OGP is going to have to say something about that as well. Here he comes then down the inside then at turn 3. Can he hold on to the move? Then there's contact, I think. There's rubbing his racing, I think, then at the end of that one as well, as Gordo trying to hold the move down the inside. Where is he? There he is. And blimey, that was great move, great battling indeed then from Gordo and Sweet OGP, then both of them very fair indeed as we go into turn 6 now, and Gordo has held on to the DRS then of the Alpine of Potstaff as well, which is going to be crucial for Gordo to try and fight off the McLaren, and from Fangio as well then, who is now caught up this battle in P6 as well. No ERS light flashing for Fangio. That is going to be very, very detrimental then for the McLaren as well in the final couple of laps, or final couple of corners I should say, because we're on to the final lap very shortly indeed as well, as we come through the chicane then on lap 28. Here comes Fangio to line up a move for P5. Yes, he is. He's up into P5. He's got the position, and now onto the back of Gordo as well then into turn 12. Gordon then is caught up to the back of Potstaff as well, then out in front. Then Farf is trying to use Mags, I think, to try and keep out hold of that podium place. Currently, that 3-second penalty will not demote him down a place. Then he will stay P2 as it stands with Farf. Ultimate Beast picks up the penalty as well. Then unfortunately for Ultimate Beast, there's contact. I think somebody down the field. It's Fangio and then McLaren. I think Sweet 100p has dropped down the field behind his teammate. So there's contact between Fangio and Sweet 100p. Then into the final corner. Then onto lap 29 we go. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but we'll have to wait and see after the race. Then Ultimate Beast then is chasing down Plotters then for that final points pen position on track. Then Fangio's not got any front wing. Then drivers need to be very careful of him there as well. Then into turn 3. Oh my goodness me, but Beast is almost pushing them through the corner then as we go into turn 3. Then Fangio with no front wing is going to struggle through this complex of corners, and he's lost out towards Beast, who's now into the points pen positions as well now. Into lap 29 to go. Then Dylan has been passed by his teammate of Swinton P. Then I'm not quite sure what's going on there from McLaren, but they have had a bit of an issue going through there. Farf has lost out then to Mags. Then Mags is now cruising off into the distance, it looks like as well. Here he's looking strong indeed. Fangio is out of the Grand Prix at turn 6. No, he's not. Where is that? He's at turn 6 somewhere. Yes, he is there. someone crashed at the exit of turn 7 or somehow. Pilotis now has been passed by Ultimate Beast, then up into P9 for the McLaren driver, the Red Bull driver. We'll come back to that battle then as Gordo then is trying to go side by side with Potstaff here through into turn 12 then. He's holding on for the time being then, but I think the penalty situation then will be added on to his race time. Gordo is in line for a podium here, and Reflection is in line for a fantastic result as well then. But here comes Mags then across the start-finish line to end off lap 29 then to take the win here in Australia then for the Ferrari team. A fantastic race win indeed then for the championship leader, extending his championship lead as well then over his rivals as well. Farf takes P2 in the end then. A great race from Farf, unfortunately, because we'll have to interview him very shortly as well then. But nonetheless, a good stuff indeed from the Haas driver then. Gordo takes P3 with a penalty situation then. 15 places gained for the Mercedes driver then, and keeping it clean and consistent then is Gordo's mantra then, and he's got himself a podium then as a result. Fantastic stuff from Gordo then. P4 for Potstaff then in the end. Dylan in P5, Reflection P6. Good result from the Alpine drivers. I think it was swinging P and P7, but we'll come through the classification then after the podium celebrations. But blimey, what a race that was indeed. That was action-packed, you could say. We definitely could say, because that's what I'm going to say, what I'm going to put it down to. But very good stuff indeed. Then driver of the day poll will then get your last few votes then into the comment section before it disappears. As there is your podium drivers then on the top step. Then is Mags then chasing his championship charge then, and he's got himself a nice healthy 25 points then, potentially 26 points. I think it's Farf who got the fastest lap in the end, potentially then, but Farf then in P2 then in the end as well. Great stuff from him, and Gordo takes the final podium place then in the Mercedes as well. Ginger Ray just said, Farf taking the lead, but I don't care. And that's pretty much my commentary style. Mags then into the lead of the race then at the end there. Fantastic stuff indeed. Farf does get P2 and the fastest lap point as well. Great stuff from Farf. Gordo then from P18 to P3, then a fantastic result then from the Mercedes driver then onto the podium places. Then Alpine of Potstaff in P4, Dylan in P5, Reflection, a great result from him from P20 as well. P6 for Reflection, Sweet WP then in P7, Camaro in P8, then good points for Camaro. Finally then, after a difficult last few races, Plotters rounds off the Plotters then P9. Ultra Beast does get himself a point then after that as well. Then a fantastic a bit of a battling race that was. Archie Beat then P11, then Justify P12, then Irvine P13, Fanjo DNF then as well on the final couple of laps. And Dopey Lemons, I completely missed the result then, so hopefully somebody else has got it. But there we go. Yeah, we went through that pretty quickly, so there we are then. And we've got some drivers then for some interviews as well. Then we've got our race winner then, Mags. A fantastic race indeed from yourself once again. Then championship lead looks quite comfortable now. But you had a difficult first half of the race. Can you tell me about that?
I got lucky, man, to be honest with you. It's about time I kind of a safety car is in my favour, because I always kind of seem to get shafted with it. But the first half of the race, everything was just kind of going grand, and started on the mediums, and when the safety car came out lap 11, so I was going to go on the hards. But as I went on the hards, when we were on the safety car train, I think it was Plotters or something like that, literally just braked in front of me. I don't know if he had a Delta or else he was just trying to warm up his tyres, but he just braked right in front of me and broke my wings, so that just kind of shafted me. And I had to go back on the mediums then the whole way at the bottom, and just had to fight my way through. Ended up getting up to like P7, and then another safety car came out, so everybody went on the softs then, like.
Yeah, and on the softs, you had some great pace indeed then to get yourself into the race lead. Then you saw your championship rival Dylan then, and there was one other car as well, stayed out on the medium compound tyres. Did you think they might be able to get to the end and keep hold of their places, or did you know that on the soft compound you were going to be flying through?
It's a tricky one, like, because obviously me, Don, and Fines were always on the party together, like, so I'm going to say commiserations to Don, like, he kind of deserved that. He was just stuck in a tricky place. He didn't know if he would put in, but I had a feeling everybody was going to put behind him. Just track position's key in this track, but like fresh tires I got there, and it was like you were just doing quality laps after quality laps, so it's just about just biding your time in and making overtakes. And I put my front wing down a few clicks as well, so I was a wee bit quicker in the straight. But there now in the softs, I felt like I could actually show off my proper piss in.
And it was a fantastic race indeed to round off the first, well, not half of the season, but we're into the break. We can even put it that way. And you've got yourself a nice, healthy championship lead. Then, do you think the title is on the cards?
I hope so, man. I've enjoyed my first season in this league. I think it's one of the cleaner leagues. We've had a few kind of tricky races, and not going to lie, getting through the pack there now. There was some questionable driving from a few people, but it's definitely a respectable league, and I would love to walk away with a championship. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and just hopefully try and get points, podiums, and race ones.
Cool. Thanks very much. So
No bar, man.
we've
Cheers.
got Farf coming up next. So unfortunately, we're going to have a very short interview here. But Farf, well done to yourself. Then you got yourself P2. Are you very happy with that?
Yarp.
And yeah, you got yourself a penalty then on the soft compound tires. Then did you think that ruined your chances of the race win here?
Yarp.
And did you have anything nice to say about the race at all?
Narp.
Okay, well that's that then. Great stuff indeed. Of course, we'll be back in action tomorrow night then with Bronze here in Australia as well then to take on the Melbourne or the Albert Park circuit as well then, and we are back in action as well on Wednesday then in Japan then for a preview of the Japanese Grand Prix in the 100% Realistic League. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.
You guys interview him on fucking next week.
Still chatting rubbish over the screen. But Gordo, then you got yourself a podium, and I'm sorry about that. You got yourself a podium. Then very well done to yourself. Yes, well done. I just assumed you were enjoying, to be fair. But no, good stuff indeed from Gordo. That you kept it clean and consistent. As I was saying in the commentary, that is your mantra this season. It's just been making sure you keep up the places, and you get the places then with all the action going on ahead and all the incidents going on ahead as well. Then, do you have anything to add then to your race that I didn't see?
No, pretty much what you said. Like, just I'm not that quick, really. So just watch the incidents happen and try and keep out of them and get the odd good result of this.
And it was a cracking result indeed. Like I was saying, minimising the penalties and keeping it clean in every race then was fantastic stuff. And like I said, you got yourself a fantastic podium here. Did you think at all that the podium was on the cards before the race start?
No, definitely not, especially with quali. I mean, it's something I've been terrible at all season, the qualifying, but especially today I thought I'd be delighted with points, so getting a podium's brilliant, like, yeah.
And maybe you can mount a championship charge then for the rest of the season, do you reckon that?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, it's on.
Good stuff indeed, and well, good to speak to you as well. Then hopefully we'll speak to you a bit more on the podiums as well. Then, because it seems to be a familiar occurrence for you as well. So, and that is credit to your driving as well. Then, because of course keeping it clean and making sure you get to the finish line is the first thing you need to do. And of course, the rewards come from that as well. Then, so fantastic to have Gordo on the podium, and fantastic to interview Gordo as well. To be fair, because every time I see him on the podium, he doesn't come join me. So there, well done indeed to yourself. Then, so that is Mags and your race winner. Then, of course, Farv and P2, unfortunately for Farv and for me. And Gordo then is a very well-renowned podium sitter as well here in Mercedes for the Silver Season 7 Round 11 here in Australia. Then, like I said, more action coming up for Bronze then tomorrow night here in Australia as well. Then before the 100% League takes to Japan on Wednesday night. So we'll see you very soon. I will finish the stream this time, and that will be it. So fantastic stuff indeed. Well done to the top three, and well done to all the drivers who got to the checkered flag here tonight as well. Then.